Hi, it's me again. I just realized that this was a video assignment instead of a written assignment, so I already wrote everything out, but I do want to go over the points that I wrote out for my video assignment. I started out by saying when you flatten an organizational structure, you keep all the employees well informed, and that helps the employees to feel empowered. And when you challenge employees and then they're recognized for their accomplishments, they tend to be more satisfied and feel like more of a valuable part of the organization. And when they're happy, they go above and beyond what's expected of them, and that's something that you can't buy with, raises, bonuses, or other benefits in the organization. So on the skills questionnaire, I scored very high in administrative and interpersonal skills and high in conceptual skills. The details of administrative skills include showing technical competence and managing resources and then managing people. The details of the interpersonal skills include being socially perceptive, so understanding what people are going through and seeing what the atmosphere is like, or they call it the temperature of the environment, and showing emotional intelligence so that I can calm myself when there's a crisis or people look to me when there's something going on and they need some guidance. And then managing interpersonal conflict. So the details of the conceptual skills include creating vision, strategic planning, and problem solving. So planning and organizing work and assigning the right tasks to the right people and coordinating work activities are actually my strengths at work. And at the supervisor role in the OR, which I play sometimes, it's a bunch of coordinating surgeries, surgeons, rooms, employees, and making sure equipment's ready and vendors are ready. So there is a lot of organizing and making sure everything goes well. There's times when I've sat down and it's 15 rooms running, and at 3 o'clock we're only going to have 13 teams of people left to run those 15 rooms. So then you just have to start calling the rooms and seeing who's volunteering to stay, and fingers crossed some people will stay, and then that's when the relationships that you have with people really, really, really help. You can't say, I'll give you time and a half for this, because obviously they're going to get time and a half if they're staying late. It's going to be overtime, but what you can do is, hey, can you please do me a favor and help me out to stay to the end of this case? It'd be a real big help. And people are willing to do it if they like you, if you're good to them. So that's a big part of leadership that I'm well aware of, that, hey, I have to maintain those relationships for them to respect me and say okay to stay later. So technical competence has come with my education, training, experience, and seeking expert advice. I'm not afraid to ask a doctor, hey, why is it this way? Or what, tell me the reasoning behind this. And a lot of doctors kind of look at me and it takes them off guard, because I'm asking them questions, not questioning them. I'm asking them technical stuff. Like, I really want to know why you would do one procedure over another procedure. Not saying, why are you doing this procedure over the other one? It's, hey, what makes it better to do this procedure versus the other procedure? Or in what instance would you do the other one over this one? It just makes me more rounded overall. I actually do a lot of talking to people. It's called management by walking around. I walk and I talk to people. Hey, good morning. And then sometimes on purpose at night I'll say good morning, or good afternoon when it's morning, and people just laugh at me. They know I'm pretty goofy, but they know that I'm willing to talk to them and be jovial and kind of just lighten the mood, and say, hey, it's Taco Tuesday, or something goofy, just to say hello. And people are used to me being goofy like that, but they respect me. If they need something, they know that I'm there for them. It also, though, when I go around and I'm jovial and joking, but I can be serious anytime it's needed, I will go to the break room and I'll just kind of, relax with people and joking and, watching TV and goofing around watching people on TV, and we'll turn Cops on, or we'll turn Jerry Springer on, and we'll all have good laughs at it. But that's where you really get the information on what's going on, what the environment's like and how people are feeling about assignments and new changes and things have gone on in the environment. That's where you get the information. It also shows me that I'm interested in, or shows them that I'm interested in what makes them happy in the job. I call it a satisfier, and what makes them not happy in the job, or a dissatisfier. So we try to keep the satisfiers going with changes and minimize the dissatisfiers. Those are things that you don't want to do on the job, like you actually have to do a report or you have to do charting. Those are dissatisfiers, but sometimes you just have to do them, and we try to keep most things satisfiers, where if it's moving the equipment you use frequently closer to where you're going to use it, that's a satisfier, and we like to do that. Or allowing people to go home early when there's not a lot of rooms running in the operating room, or allowing to be flexible and schedule as much as possible. Those are also satisfiers. Okay. Handling conflict is another idea that's on there. It's really generally pretty easy for me because I was a certified mediator before, and the biggest thing in a conflict is try to find common ground right away. Stop the conflict before it escalates, and hey, let's talk about this, or bring it up, or just make it obvious that there is a conflict. Don't allow it to go, by the wayside, or have people grumble and say things under their breath. That's like the worst thing. Or someone go away from it when they're upset. So you got to work on bringing the conflict to the forefront and saying, well, hey, we really need to do this for the patient. Would you be willing to do this, or would you be willing to do that? And finding a compromising spot. And a lot of times it's all about the patient. So if someone prefers to do something one way and another person prefers to do it the other way, that's fine, but this time we're going to do it this way, something like that. So the reason why the strategic planning was a little bit lower on my score is I actually don't enjoy doing planning and vision and mission and all that stuff, because you can say whatever you want to say and you can plan whatever you want to plan, but if you and your employees don't believe and live and breathe, all that mission and vision to life, then it's not worth anything. So there's a lot of words involved in it, but they aren't actually meaningful. And this is where I go into where I try to, if I have a team and I have some known strengths and known weaknesses, we work together to try to bring all the weaknesses up to strengths, and try to make the strengths better, so overall as a team we get better. So unfortunately where I work, the vision is not aligned with the actual actions that they do. And so unfortunately it's kind of caused me to work or retreat into working a job for a paycheck kind of mentality. I really don't even want to take on the supervisory tasks, but no one else really wants to do them. And my coworkers, and actually supervisors too, they keep encouraging me, and they keep saying, well, you can do it, you're the best one to do it, and you need to lead. And I have so many times said I don't want to do it, I don't want to be a supervisor, I just want to come in and do my job and go home, because I don't want to deal with all the upper management. And it's because I can see it's an organization that doesn't want to listen from logic, or listen to logic from the front line. So our nurses and techs and everyone doing the job day-to-day basis, they don't want to, up above, they don't want to listen to what we actually do and what we need. So the policies and procedures originate from the top, and they filter down as mandatory regulations to be followed, regardless if they're sensible or not. And it's kind of it's a disconnect. It's a huge disconnect. There's definitely more control at the top and a serious lack of communication throughout the organization. The structure actually impedes cohesive care for the patient and causes a large amount of turnover of employees simply due to lack of collaboration. So we have a lot of really, really good employees. They're technically wonderful and personality and dedicated, but they just get so burnt out of having all these new policies and procedures just shoved down their throat all the time. I think organizations work better with interdisciplinary team models for patient care because they can employ multiple specialists and arrive at a common goal for each situation and patient. It's great for surgical patients as well because you have many different people involved in the care of a surgical patient, like preoperative, perioperative, and postoperative departments. They're all under a director. And unfortunately, how it is now, there's a supervisor for each area, then a supervisor for each shift in each area, and then a charge nurse for each shift in each unit in each area. So even a small change that needs to be made for the benefit of the patient, the message has to use the chain of command. So it has to go up all the supervisors on one side, and then it gets to the top supervisor, and then it has to go down the others. It's like the game of telephone where you send a message, and by the time it reaches its recipient, it's twisted, and it's not even the right message, and it takes forever to get there. What I do, it's not very popular, but I do it. If something needs to be changed or addressed, I go directly to the source. So let's say I'm in perioperative and something is not going right with preoperative checks, or something's just not right and it's affecting everyone. I'll walk over to the preoperative department and say, this isn't right. We need to change this. It's not working for the patients. And we see it all the way through the process. And I'll say, what can we do to make this better? And they talk to me directly. We figure out what it is. And then I go to our supervisors and say, this is going to be the change and this is how we're going to do it. And I put it in writing and I make sure they do it. They don't like it. They know me real well, but I'll say, hey, everyone's in agreement, we're going to do this, and this is the best for the patient. And as long as I make it based on for the patient, it's okay. So I prefer a flattened or horizontal structure because you can go directly to the person or the department and tell them what's going on that needs to be changed. I value the diverse perspectives of all the departments and everyone. It seems to make everyone feel important and more in control of their environment when they're able to just go directly to the source and say, hey, this isn't working well, let's work together. Versus, well, this department did this, we need to write them up or tell their supervisor or that kind of thing. It's not a good environment to have that. And then I have an article that I chose, and it shows that recent research is showing evidence of transdisciplinary teams working to increase interpersonal communication, cross cultural boundaries, coordinate efforts of diverse groups, and align with larger goals and break out of past mindsets. It says the models actually of transdisciplinary go actually further than interdisciplinary models because they blend providers from multiple disciplines to share their ideas from the beginning of the case to create a holistic care plan that covers all diagnoses and treatment avenues for the patient. Currently, healthcare is reactive in its approach to care management. Each specialty is consulted with one admitting provider who's usually a hospitalist. So what happens is there's a miscommunication or delay of care provided to the patient because as each specialty checks the patient or evaluates the patient, they say, it's not us, we need to consult with, infectious disease, or it's not us, we need to call a consult for endocrinology. So it just really, if we could use transdisciplinary teams, they'd be involved at the beginning, and everyone would say, let's get together and let's get in the same room actually and figure out what's going on and do what we need to do. And I think it would actually streamline the care and trim costs too while improving outcomes for patients. That it would trim the cost by not having such a lengthy hospital stay. And that's really important for insurers and for patients too. And then I close it out with the value in organizational leadership really comes from the leader's ability to motivate employees through trust and respect. And I think a leader could be a good leader or a great leader, actually. They can be successful in any type of organization, whether it's horizontal or vertical. And that's because that leader will know how to understand the need for encouragement, engage and support employees, and really hide them or mask all the stuff that goes on above their heads. And I say it's a matrix of paperwork and management, because if employees don't have to be bothered with all that, they just come in, they do their job, they put in their input, and it's, their input's welcomed, and their leader knows, hey, I really value their opinions. Let's really look into that. Let's make a change. Let's see what they can bring to the table. I mean, everyone's happy, regardless of how horrible the structure is above them in the organization. Okay, I think I covered everything that was supposed to be covered. I actually have to work with many levels and many departments in my role in surgery. I have to work with almost every department there is, calling them on the phone, getting report, giving report, and transferring patients, arranging care all the time. I'm always doing that. But some nurses in the OR don't do that. I have no problems picking up the phone and calling someone and say, hey, we need this patient to go to ICU, and the doctor wants them to go to this ICU, and some doctors don't like room number 6 or room number 7 in this ICU, so you have to make sure they go to the right ICU. Yeah, it sounds crazy, but I don't mind picking up the phone and making sure that happens. And some nurses will say, well, you're going to need to put the order in after the surgery, and it makes it more difficult for the doctor, so I try to work with them as well. But working in the supervisor role, you have to actually work with the same people you can work with in the room, and not a lot of nurses in the rooms realize that hey, pick up the phone and talk to the emergency department and see what's going on with this patient before they make it to the room. That one-to-one contact makes it so much better than just reading something from the chart. You can get information about family, you can get information about the patient, you can get information about, background that no one else would know, or stuff that you really wouldn't put in a chart. So it's kind of going above and beyond. I think that's being a leader for the nurse and or for the patient, and being an advocate for the patient. All right. Well, I don't have anything else to discuss, and I will post the article that I was talking about. Thank you.